نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وخير الهدى هدى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. From the Khutba to Jumu'ah today, I'm going to bring a few points out about what was mentioned that is really important for us moving forward, inshallah. The first point is the ayat that was used in Surah Or. When we mentioned the statement, فَمَسْتَمْتَعْتُمْ بِهِ مِنْهُنَّ فَآتُوهُنَّ أُجُورُهُنَّ فَرِيضًا. So you men, after you have made the enjoyment with your wives, you should give them their dowries. And this is something that is an obligation for you. This ayat of the Quran, there's ikhtilaf between the scholars as to what this ayat actually means. So some scholars are of the opinion, as we mentioned today, that this is an ayat of the Quran that supports mut'a marriage from the Quran. Other scholars took another opinion, because istimta' in the Quran means multiple things. But it was brought to my attention, so when I mentioned, he wasn't aware that this ayat, or there were any ayats about mut'a marriage in the Quran. This is one of the ayat that the ulama of al-Islam use to show that mut'a marriage is in the Quran, and Allah knows best. As for the Sunnah, then there's no doubt about that. But it's an ayat that has ikhtilaf regarding the meaning of the ayah. The other thing, and this is really important, because it deals with takfir, and there are people who go overboard in making takfir of Muslims. And a takfir is when you excommunicate a Muslim and you say that he's not a Muslim. This is a major crime and a major sin. For the most part, it is not the responsibility or the obligation of just regular people to make takfir of people who are claiming Islam. As for non-Muslims, there's no doubt about their kufr. Then we're not going to be reluctant if the situation presented itself. We're not going to be reluctant to say he's a non-Muslim, she's a non-Muslim. We know, because they are from the kuffar al-asliyin. No doubt about their kufr. Like some of the well-known personalities. We are not allowed to even be of the people who hesitate if we're asked a question, is so-and-so a non-Muslim? He's known to be a non-Muslim. So some people will refrain from saying he is a kafir because of al-wara' and being aware. No. Allah knows his situation. No, that person is a non-Muslim. We don't have any hesitation in saying that. But people who claim that they are Muslims, it is a major crime to say that a Muslim is a non-Muslim. Our Nabi mentioned sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, قال لأخيه المسلم يا كافر فقد باء به أحدهما. Anyone who says to his Muslim brother, hey, you kafir, you kafir, hey kafir, he said that word is going to fall on one of them. It is either as he said, but if it's not as he said, it's going to come back to him. And he has made kufran of the ni'mah of Allah Azza wa Jal, and he has made the permissibility of placing this label on someone. So today, unfortunately, you see some of the most ignorant people passing out cards of a takfir on Muslims because they don't agree with them. And sometimes the Muslim is doing something that may be a sign of kufr. It's possible. But it's like today's khutbah. I want you brothers to remember this incident and this situation. When that companion, whose name was Qudam ibn Mad'un, the brother of Uthman ibn Mad'un, may Allah be pleased with both of them. And he was drinking khamr, and it was in public, and he wasn't trying to hide it because he thought it was permissible. So there was no reason for him to hide. He thought it was permissible. And he, no doubt, was saying that it is halal. They call that in Arabic al-istihlal. The word halal is in the end. Istihlal is when a person makes something halal. So we've been told about the Yahud and the Nasara, the Jews and the Christians. اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبانهم أربابا من دون الله. The Christians and the Jews, they take their monks and their priests, their rabbis, as laws along with Allah, and they worship them. When the man heard that, and he was a Christian, he said, Ya Rasulallah, we don't worship them. We don't worship these Christian monks and the rabbis. The Prophet asked the man, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, do they not make halal what Allah made haram? He said, yes. Do they not make haram what Allah made halal? He said, yes. He said, that is your ibadah. You're worshiping them when you follow them in that. So no one has the right to make something halal or haram except Allah. So the issue with boycotting, if a person wants to boycott, you go ahead and boycott. That's what you want to do. You tell people why you want to boycott. But you can't make things like that haram. It's impermissible for us to drink this soda or this coffee. No, you want to boycott, you boycott. But don't make things halal and don't make things haram on people or even haram on yourself. Just say, I don't do that. I'm not going to drink that. I'm not going to eat that. So the hadith shows, that hadith we just mentioned, that if you make istihlal and you say something that is haram, you say that is halal, you have set yourself up as a legislator along with Allah, a musharri'. It's not permissible. So in today's khutbah, that companion, may Allah be pleased with him, he was telling people it's permissible to drink this stuff. It's permissible. And he was making it halal. He wasn't afraid. And that was because based upon how he misunderstood the ayat, it led him to that understanding. This is very, very important. So he made a ta'wil. He was muta'awwal. He read and understood the thing the wrong way. And as a result of that, it gave him the wrong opinion. And that did not cause him to go outside of al-Islam. Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, when he heard the man's explanation of why he was doing, he was shocked. And he said to the man, the ayat was revealed because the people before, they used to drink khamr and they died. And the companions were asking, what's going to happen to them? This ayat was revealed to say nothing's going to happen to them because they died before the impermissibility of it came down. And then Umar said, and if you return back to it, I'm going to flog you. Because now you know. You know the correct understanding. You're not ignorant and you're not muta'awwal. I'm telling you, if you go back to this, I'm going to deal with you. Which brings us to a very important message. Down the line, inshallah, we'll deal with it. We'll deal with the abwab of knowledge. And that is, anytime you're going to make takfir of people, you're going to say someone is a kafir, there was a thing that is called the mawani'. The mawani'. Like preventive measures. The mawani'. If any of these things are present, if a person is doing something that appears to be something that makes him a kafir, he's saying something, he's doing something, and one of these things are present, you can't call him a kafir. like in this hadith. He read the thing, he heard the thing, and he thought it was like that. He sincerely thought it. He wasn't trying to be a troublemaker. He wasn't trying to be a person who's trying to be funny, controversial. He just really thought that. He doesn't become a kafir because Umar never said, you are making istihlal and you're a kafir once you do that. You're setting yourself up as a sharik with Allah. He didn't say that. He knew the man was doing it based upon the wrong thing. Number two is if the person says something or did something and he was ignorant, he didn't know the ruling. Like it used to happen to the companions all the time. They would say things of disbelief and they would do things that were disbelief out of ignorance. And then the Prophet would tell them, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is the right thing. This is the right way. And he would educate them. So the ignorant person has to be educated. So number one, he can't be having ta'wil. Number two, he can't be ignorant. The opposite of knowledge. Now, if he did that and he knows what he's doing and he's not ignorant, different story. Number three is he did that thing and it was a mistake. It was a mistake. He didn't know. He made a mistake. He meant to do something as opposed to the one who's doing it and he intends to do it. No, he's just making a mistake. He's excused. And we don't say that he's a non-Muslim. We don't say that. The fourth one is if the person is having ikrah. If he's being forced and compelled, like some of the companions, in order to save their lives, they were forced to say words of disbelief. They said words of disbelief. They cursed Allah. They cursed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam because the non-Muslims told them, you better do this. So they did it in order to save their lives. No one's going to come and say, hey, you're a non-Muslim because you said that. And the last one is, as many scholars say it, is a taqleed. A taqleed. When people just blindly follow it. And this is why we have to be careful, in my opinion, concerning people like the Rafida of Iran and Iraq and Bangladesh and Lebanon. The aqeedah of those people is kufr. And what they believe in say is kufr. But some of them don't know what they're doing. People are ignorant. They don't know what they do. They grew up on that and they think and thought that that was. So for me, I'm not going to say those regular people are disbelievers. I'm not going to say that for those people. But their ulama are definitely disbelievers. And that stuff that they say doing what they believe is kufrun billah. But there are those people who say all of them are disbelievers because you can't exist as a Muslim and believe in that stuff. But a taqleed is like that. Blind following your parents is like that. And you'll see that in some of their behavior. Some of the people who have that aqeedah and that understanding, they have a high level of akhlaq. They have good suluk. They have what would appear to be like they're decent human beings. But when it comes to their deen, that thing of their deen is messed up. So it's an issue that has ikhtilaf. But anyway, don't make takfir and pronounce kufr on a Muslim. It's not your job. It's not our job. But don't just take that and say that's for everybody. No. There were people that it's not permissible to hesitate. The Queen of England, the King of England, these people like that. You find people say, Allah knows best as to their Islam. We don't know. No, we know. We base the situation on what they were showing everybody and what they were saying. And we judge based upon what is apparent, and we leave their secrets to Allah. That's not our job. But when it comes to Muslims, don't make takfir of people. No matter how upset you get, how emotional you get, it is not our job. It's not our responsibility. Another thing that I want to mention is a clarification, because I learned something today that I didn't know yesterday, and I have to rectify it because I mentioned it here before. In the examples of Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, doing something where people corrected him and he took the correction without giving any hard time, There are a lot of those examples that are authentic, a lot. They described Umar as a result. They described him, may Allah be pleased with him, as being waqaf. He wasn't a person, if you gave him advice and your advice was correct, he wouldn't argue with you. He would just take it and say, you're right. He was waqaf. And that's a good quality and characteristic to have. You don't want a wife who is argumentative. You tell her, I saw this thing, maybe you guys saw it as well. It was showing the difference between men and women. And it had men here, women here. And the word sorry here. They drew a line, the man said, sorry. But for the woman, they drew the line, it was going around, and it took a long time to come for her to say, I'm sorry. Is that something only that women have? La wallahi. But a lot of them are like that, though. But there are men who are like that. Just sorry, that's it. I'm sorry. Don't give any excuses. I'm sorry. I was wrong. That's it. Umar was like that. And there are a lot of dalil, a lot of examples, a lot. But there are some famous ones. And I used a famous one in this masjid that I found out today is not authentic. So I want to rectify and clarify it. Half of it, some of it is authentic, but the main part of it is not authentic as an ether. And that is, what's authentic is when Al-Islam was spreading during the Khilaf of Umar, and today we mentioned, how long was the Khilaf of Umar? Anybody remember? It's 10 and a half years, 10 years, 6 months. And Abu Bakr was how long? 2 years and 3 months, very short time. They said that the Khilaf of Umar was the golden age of Al-Islam because Islam spread far and wide. East and west, north and south, and Islam during his time was the golden years. But anyway, when the Muslims were conquering all of these places during Umar's time, the dunya opened up and they began to accumulate a lot of wealth. So when they accumulated a lot of wealth, there started to be a lot of trials and tribulations. He said, "Inna li kulli ummatin fitna wa fitnatu ummati al-mal." Every ummah has a trial, a tribulation, a fitna. And the trial of our ummah is money. So Umar, knowing that, he told the Muslim men, if any of you get married and you give your wife more than 12 uqiyah, if you give her 14, 15, 20, 25, more than 12, I'm going to give her 12 and take the superfluous, the zaid, the extra. Because he said, because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam never married a woman, nor did he allow his daughter to get married for more than 12 uqiyah. Back then, that was about $400. But with inflation right now is about $1,800. That was the dowry, $400 back then. He said if there was any virtue in giving a lot of money, any virtue of getting a lot of money, Rasulullah would have done it himself, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or he'd allowed it for his daughter. But he never gave and he never allowed anyone to give any of his daughters more than 12. That's authentic. But then there's a part to that hadith, that athar, that I thought was authentic, but it's not authentic. And I want to make it clear here that the ulama of al-hadith said it is not authentic, and it is the crux of the matter, to be honest with you. The narration said that a woman who was in the majlis and she heard what Umar did, she said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, do we have to listen to you, or is it binding for us to listen to Allah over you? The author said, Umar said, of course, you got to listen to Allah. Can't follow the sheikh. You can't follow me when it's in conflict with the Quran and the Sunnah. And then the lady read the ayah. How many of you heard that author? How many of you heard that author before? Only 2 people here? That's it. I thought it was so famous because I mentioned it before here. Anyway, the author said that the lady read the ayah of the Quran in Surah An-Nisa. What's the ayah again? إن أردتم استبدال زوج مكان زوج وآتيتم إحداهن قنطارا فلا تأخذوا منه شيئا. If one of you marries a woman, and when you marry that woman, you give her a qintar. A qintar is much more than 12 uqiyah. A qintar is a treasure, a lot of money. You give her 500,000 Kuwaiti dinar. You give her a lot of money for her dowry. The ayah said, don't take any of it back, any of it. So the lady said, here Allah has said that if the man gave the lady a treasure, you shouldn't take it up. That's more than 12 uqiyah. And the author said that Umar said, the lady is right and the man is wrong. Umar is wrong. That's a famous hadith. I thought the whole thing was authentic. Just the first part is authentic, but the kalam of the lady is not authentic. It's not authentic. And there are quite a few with Umar, quite a few, where he's saying something like the one that the people who like to make khuruj, they love to make khuruj on the hukam of al-Islam, and it's not permissible unless we see from them kufr, kufrun bawahin, clear kufr, clear, and we have the ability. Then we make khuruj. But if you don't have that, Islam said don't do it. To be a fitna. So they use that athar that is fabricated, that Umar stood on the minbar on the day of Friday and began to do the khutbah. And then he came to Ya ayyuhan nas istami'u ilay. Oh, people, listen to me. And someone in the audience said, Wallahi, we're not going to listen to you. Is that conceivable on the day of Jumu'ah that a companion would do something like that? That they don't know the etiquette of Jumu'ah? You can't say something like that in the masjid to the person, to the imam, the khatib, especially to the Amirul Mu'mineen, Umar. The people themselves are not going to allow you to do that. Because if you open that door of disrespecting him like that, every Bedouin, every ignorant, everybody's going to do that to him. The companions are above that. They are above that. Now, I think in certain masajid, that can happen today. That can happen today. Because people don't know how to weigh the importance of not doing that, the danger. The person actually would think what he's doing is from rojula. That's not from rojula, like being a man, being courageous. That's ignorant. Because if you do that, the next person, everybody's going to think they can do that. And then it's going to be folder. Anyway, Umar said, you're not going to listen to me? He said, no, we're not going to listen to you until you explain to us, why is it, Umar, that you have 2 thobes and we only have 1 thobe from the spoils of war? It said that Umar said, I'm going to let my son, Abdullah bin Umar, to tell you. So look at the niqash and the kalam, the hiwar on the day of the Jumu'ah. His son said, my father has a thobe for himself, and I gave him a thobe that belonged to me, so he had 2 thobes. The person said, one of the companions, he said, okay, now you can speak. But if you ever go against the Quran and the Sunnah, we're going to take our swords out on you. That hadith or that statement is fabricated. And that does not show how we follow the dalil and not the person. Everything about that athar is confusion and against the religion. And you always hear it being narrated from our shabab today. Our shabab. So there's enough in our deen and what is authentic, especially about Umar, that if people brought him the truth, he stopped and he didn't move forward 1 step. Last thing that we want to mention here, actually it's not the last thing, but what we want to mention as well is another example, and it's an important example as well, with the Khalifa Abu Bakr. May Allah be pleased with Abu Bakr, who was the most knowledgeable of the companions, He had the most knowledge of all of the companions. And although he had the most knowledge, the people still used to ask him and challenge him in a nice way. Never disrespect. He was too high on a level of respect as a person. People did not disrespect Abu Bakr. He was a gentleman. He was muhaddab. He was an individual, jaleel, the way he was. So you won't find people clashing with him from the regular people. He had some misunderstandings with some companions like Umar, but the regular people, they respected him. But during his khilafah, there was a woman who came, and she was the grandmother of a person who had died, and she came to him in order to get her inheritance, her miraf. Her son died, her daughter died, and left money behind. That lady came to Abu Bakr and said, I came to receive my portion of the inheritance of my grandchild, my granddaughter, my grandson. Abu Bakr said, I don't know anything in the Quran and I don't know anything in the Sunnah. Those ayat in Surah An-Nisa about who gets what, you're not mentioning there. The grandmother is not mentioned. And I don't know anything in the authentic Sunnah that mentions you, the grandmother of the deceased, gets anything. So I'm going to leave you. Let me ask about it. He asked the companion Al-Mughira ibn Shu'bah. He said, yes. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam ruled that if a grandmother was alive and her the mother of that deceased, the grandson, the granddaughter, if that mother is dead, not there, then the grandmother gets 1/6 of the inheritance, 1/6. That's one companion. Another companion, Muhammad ibn Maslama, radiyallahu anhuma, said the same thing. And then Abu Bakr gave the money to the lady. After he had two companions who came, they witnessed what the situation was, which goes to show, what's the point? It goes to show that nobody is above the law. Everybody has to bring dalil and proof for what they say and what they do. Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, everybody. There's no person who is exempt from that. We have to all remember that. We have to all remember that. You have every right to look at, like the brother said to me, this ayat. He said, I don't know that that ayat stands for muta' marriage. That ayat is for when you get married and you have relations and you give the lady her dowry. You have every right to say that. And then you discuss it. Say, let's go back. Let me show you what an Imam al-Tabari said about the issue. So it's there. You have every right to have a discussion. People have to bring the evidence. But what I will say to our community, to you brothers and the sisters as well, is that we have to have etiquette. We have to have adab. The one who is bringing that to someone's attention has to have etiquette. And the one who is hearing it, we have to have etiquette and giving and listening, because the goal and the objective is not to put people down. And the goal and objective is not for the person to reject the truth when it comes to it. The goal and the objective is to spread the truth and everybody get with the program and everybody get on the truth. That's our goal and that's our objective, and that is our responsibility. So we're going to stop here now, inshallah. And if you brothers have any questions, you could put your question forward.